Ouagadougou, a busy, lively city, the heart of Burkina Faso, a country in West Africa. One sunny afternoon, not too long ago, a man stepped off a plane at the international airport. He came from France, far away. His name was Julien Morel. He carried a professional-looking camera, wore clean shoes, and had a smile that seemed warm and friendly. Clipped to his shirt was a press badge, the kind reporters wear. Julien told the people at the airport he was a journalist. "I'm here to learn about your country," he said in good French. "I want to tell the world about Burkina Faso's challenges and share the voices of its people." He even praised the country's young leader, President Ibrahim Traore. "It's brave to see a leader stand up for Africa," Julien added, smiling again. He seemed so polite, offering water to his taxi driver, and giving out little gifts, like colorful pens to school children he met on the street. He bought sweet tea in the village markets and took many photos, beautiful sunsets, wandering goats, busy marketplaces. Everyone he met thought, "He seems like a good person, interested in our lives." Why wouldn't they? But Julien's camera wasn't just capturing sunsets. And his friendly chats weren't always just friendly chats. Over the next few weeks, he started going to places that seemed unusual for a reporter, telling stories about everyday people. He spent time near army camps, walked along railway lines used for important transport, and asked guards detailed questions. What kind of goods travel on these trains? How often do patrols pass here? One soldier even joked, "You ask more questions than our own bosses." Julien just laughed it off. "That's how reporters learn," he replied smoothly. But was it? Back at the small guest house where he stayed on the edge of the city, other strange things happened. He never seemed to go out and have fun like other visitors. Instead, late at night, when everyone else was sleeping, people noticed lights under his door. He was making phone calls, long ones, to numbers in other countries. He never used a local phone card, always something different, something harder to trace. And what about the stories he was supposedly writing? Weeks passed, but no articles appeared online, no photos were shared on websites. He told people it was for a big special report in Europe, but nobody could find any trace of it. It was all very mysterious. This strange behavior didn't go unnoticed. Burkina Faso has clever people whose job is to protect the country, like secret detectives. They are called intelligence officers. They started watching Julien, very quietly, very carefully. They didn't want him to know he was being observed. They followed his movements like shadows. Using smart technology, they figured out who he was calling and what he was sending in his secret late-night emails. They didn't need to touch his phone. They could see the digital clues he left behind. Slowly, like putting together puzzle pieces, they uncovered the truth. Julien wasn't taking pictures for a news story. He was collecting secret information about Burkina Faso's important places and defenses. He wasn't a journalist. He was a spy. The intelligence officers gathered all the proof, photos, message logs, recordings. They showed everything to President Traore. The evidence was clear. The friendly journalist was actually working against the country. Now what should the president do? He could have ordered Julien's arrest immediately, hidden away from sight. But President Traore was young, smart, and wanted to handle this differently. He decided to show the world what was happening, not hide it. He planned a clever trap, using the truth as his weapon. A few days later, Julien received an official invitation. It was for a special press meeting with President Traore himself. Julien probably felt excited, maybe even proud. This is my chance, he might have thought. I get to interview the president. He dressed neatly, grabbed his notebook, and arrived at the presidential building, still playing the part of the eager journalist. He smiled confidently at the guards as he walked in, feeling like he belonged there. He had absolutely no idea that this wasn't a regular meeting. He wasn't walking into an interview, he was walking into a carefully prepared spotlight. The room where the meeting was held felt different. It was small and strangely quiet. There weren't reporters from big famous news channels like CNN or BBC. Only a few local journalists sat there, their faces serious, notebooks open but pens still. Several cameras were positioned around the room, already recording, their little red lights glowing steadily. Julien found his seat. He opened his notebook, trying to look professional, but maybe he felt a little prickle of unease. Why was it so quiet? Why wasn't anyone smiling or chatting? He pushed the feeling away. Maybe they're just nervous, he probably told himself. Then, the door opened. President Ibrahim Traore walked in. He wasn't wearing a suit and tie like many leaders. He wore his green military uniform, standing tall and straight. He didn't look rushed or worried. He looked completely calm and in control. Julian quickly stood up, extending his hand with a polite smile. "Mr. President, it's an honor. I was hoping to ask," but President Traore cut him off, shaking his hand firmly, his eyes looking directly into Julian's. "Mr. Morel," the president said, his voice calm but strong, "you have spent weeks asking many questions about Burkina Faso. Today I will give you answers. But first, I have some questions of my own for you." Julian blinked. His confident smile faltered for a second. Was this unexpected? He quickly tried to recover, perhaps with a nervous little laugh. "Of course, Mr. President. That's what interviews are for, a conversation." But deep down, a warning bell might have started ringing. This felt very different. This wasn't a conversation between a leader and a reporter. President Traore wasn't just asking questions. He was starting something else. The trap was sprung. The cameras kept rolling silently. President Traore began. "You've been in our country for 23 days, correct?" Julian nodded, trying to keep his voice steady. "Yes, Mr. President. Gathering stories, filming, trying to understand." "Understand what, exactly?" the president asked. Julian hesitated. The challenges, security, how things work." Traore nodded slowly, then glanced to the side. A soldier stepped forward holding a folder. "You visited 9 places, very close to our military bases," Traore stated calmly. "You secretly recorded 3 important locations while pretending to interview the guards there. Is that correct?" Julian's eyes widened. He started to sweat, not from the heat but from shock. "How did they know?" I'm a journalist," he stammered, his voice suddenly shaky. "That's my job. We go where the stories are." One of the local journalists gasped softly. They were starting to understand. President Traore stepped a little closer. "And is it also part of a journalist's job, Mr. Morel, to send secret, coded emails at 2 o'clock in the morning to computer servers in another country? Servers linked to foreign agents?" Julian froze. He couldn't speak. The soldier opened the folder wider, holding up more proof. A clear photo of Julian near a restricted army radio tower late at night, screenshots of coded messages sent from his email address, information linking those messages to a French military contact known to Burkina Faso's intelligence. Julian's face lost all its color. He looked trapped. I can explain that," he mumbled, but the words died in his throat. There was no explanation. Then came the final, undeniable proof. Another soldier brought in a black laptop. Julian's own laptop, secretly copied by the intelligence team. It was connected to a projector. Suddenly, a map flashed onto the wall. It was a detailed map of Burkina Faso. But this map had bright red pins marking secret army storage places, oil pipelines, and mine locations, information that could only be used to harm the country. It was found in a hidden folder on his computer labeled, "For Review, Côte d'Ivoire." Julian just stared, shaking his head slowly, whispering, "No, it wasn't. Those were just notes. I didn't send." "Explain this email then," President Traore interrupted calmly, holding up one printed message. It read, "Targets movements predictable. Palace security weak near West Gate. Good spot for future watching." Julian looked like he might faint. "That's fake," he choked out. "It was sent from your secret email, Mr. Morel, at 2:17 a.m. from your guest house," the president replied evenly. "We don't fake evidence here. We collect it." President Traore then turned away from the pale, trembling spy and looked straight into the main camera lens. He spoke clearly, not with anger, but with quiet power, addressing his nation and the watching world. "This man says he came to understand our people. But look." He gestured towards the evidence. "He came to map our movements, find our weaknesses, and send our secrets away. He came not to tell our story, but to steal it, maybe help others write a bad ending for us." He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. Then, looking back briefly at the defeated Julian, he said the line that would soon echo everywhere. "You came here looking for stories, Mr. Morel. Now, you are the story." With a simple, quiet nod from the president, 2 uniformed guards stepped forward. They gently took Julian by the arms. He didn't fight back. He didn't say another word. All the confidence was gone. He just lowered his head and let them lead him out of the room the same way he came in. But this time, he wasn't the one holding the camera, observing others. He was the one caught in the frame, exposed for everyone to see. It happened incredibly fast. Even before the press room chairs were folded up, clips from the meeting were flying across the internet. The first video showed President Traore asking his calm questions, then the moment he delivered the powerful line, "Now you are the story," followed by the silent walkout of the exposed spy. It spread like wildfire. On TikTok, WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. People in Ghana, Nigeria, Senegal, Mali, all across the African continent, watched it again and again. They added music, commentary, celebrating what they saw. Wow! He exposed the spy without even raising his voice. This is how you protect your nation. Africa is finally standing tall. In Burkina Faso itself, people gathered around TVs in shops and homes. Phones were passed around in crowded tea stalls. Radios played the recording. There was a buzz of excitement and pride. An old woman in a village market nodded, saying, "They used to come with guns. Now they come with cameras and smiles." But our president saw through it. What about France, where Julian came from? Their government released a very short, cold statement. It basically said, "We know about the situation. We expect our citizen to be treated fairly." But they said nothing about the spying. Nothing about the maps, the emails, the secret agent contact. They didn't deny the proof, probably because they couldn't. The evidence was too strong, shown to the whole world. And Julian Morel? The man who arrived with a smile and a camera was now being held in a safe, secure place by the Burkinabe authorities. He wasn't being treated like a visiting journalist anymore. He was under arrest, facing serious charges related to spying and risking national security. The confident spy who thought he could trick a nation was now waiting, alone, to see what would happen next. President Traore didn't rush to give more interviews. He let the video, the evidence, speak for itself for a few days. Then, he did something important. He didn't go to a fancy hall or talk to foreign news crews. He went to a simple school courtyard in Ouagadougou, filled with his own people. Children sat on the dusty ground. Farmers leaned against the walls, market women, drivers, students, soldiers. They all came to listen. There were no scripts, no fancy microphones. He just stood there, in the bright African sun, and spoke from the heart. "For many years," he said, his voice carrying across the quiet yard, "outsiders have watched us, not always to help us build, but sometimes to control us, to know our secrets. They send people like this man, carrying cameras, smiling nicely." He paused, looking around at the faces. But that camera wasn't just for pictures. It was like a weapon, aimed at our safety, at our future. He said he was a journalist, but his secret files had more maps than stories, more targets than truths. He didn't come to share our voice, he came to steal it. The crowd listened silently, understanding every word. Then, President Traore delivered a clear message, not just for Julian Morel, but for anyone else who might try the same thing in the future. To the next person who comes with smiles and hidden plans, don't mistake our welcome for weakness. Don't mistake our silence for blindness. We see you now. That simple phrase, "we see you now," became a powerful slogan. It appeared painted on walls in the city. It became a hashtag trending online across West Africa. Students chanted it. It was a quiet declaration of awareness, of strength, of a new chapter. No big arrests followed, no shouting, no chaos. Just the quiet, firm exposure of one spy, caught in his own game by a leader who chose intelligence over anger, and a powerful reminder sent across a continent. Africa is watching. Africa is aware. And Africa knows how to tell its own story, and how to aim the camera back,